y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Healthy Warrior Shane.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
Fella.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks, where every show is our first show, because we don't get to episode 2 till we finish episode 1. If there's one thing we do right, it's get episode 1 wrong. I am at Riff Marsh. We are at WTR the show. Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. This is where you come to drink your wrestling worries away and have a good time with your drinking buddies. That is me, Marsh, and my pals here. We're going to start with at Crybaby Klump. Say hello, Klump.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight?
That's what he sounds like. That's how he talks. He's just normally how he talks. He always sounds that way.
Why are you being so rude to me, producer? For starting this on a poor note.
It is really weird the producer would be this rude about how you always sound all the time, always.
I quit.
Can't work under these conditions.
Alright!
And with us, as per the usual, Miss Amanda Jane. Say hello, Miss Amanda Jane.
Well, hello. Or, howdy-ho.
Perfect. That's how she sounds also all the time.
Yeah, that's how I say
Alright.
it.
Yeah.
I feel quite mocked.
No one sounds like this.
That's how everyone sounds. That's how all of
Is
us
there a way to be prejudiced regarding sound? Because I feel that is what producers do win.
That's a good point. Great point. Lunar in the chat. Cheers to Lunar coming through, saying Klump is being extra today right off the bat. What are you talking about? I'm always down for a little double scoop of Klump. I could use some extra Klump any day.
Wow.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, I'm here for the scoop.
Bad.
What? Like when you go to Cold Stone and they ask you the sizes and they say, do you like it or love it or gotta have it? Klump is a gotta have it. For sure. Every time.
Everything I produce comes in vials. It's quite... Blood draws are quite frustrating. It's difficult.
We need a bigger container.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna need a spoon to make babies.
This all makes sense to me. This all just feels right. Guys, let's start with a little something simple, a little bit of what's in your glass. I'm going to start with Miss Amanda Jane. I know we got corporate Amanda today, but you can wink at us. You can wink twice if you're having a real drink. Mm-hmm.
No, I did have one before I got here.
That's good.
No, during our meet, like I had a meeting right now, so it was boring. But anyways, no. So I had a little shot of something, but right now I'm all about eating my lunch, which is popcorn, Orville Redenbacher's. I don't know what kind it is, but anyways, it's very greasy and buttery, and you know.
All right. Well, we'll have a good time because it's not about what you're drinking. It's about who you're drinking with, and you're drinking with us today.
But
we're excited to have you here.
Producer lady here, I had a glass on your behalf.
Yes.
Today, thank you.
So.
Yes, we will talk about that in just a second. We're going to start. We're going to move over to Klump. What are you drinking, Klump?
I am having bean juice.
Bean juice? I love it.
Yeah.
What?
Just bean juice.
Yeah. If you ever open up a can of like pinto beans,
Yes.
that stuff you pour out before you get to the beans, that's the bean juice.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's almost chocolate milky, but it's not. It's better.
Ew.
More protein.
No,
Exactly.
really
It is purely for protein.
Yeah.
that's
Lots
really
of fiber.
Yes.
Delightful.
There's actually a wonderful drink called Bovril that they have in England, and what it is essentially bouillon cubes in hot water that you drink.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's better than
That's soup.
bean water.
That's
Bean water.
the bean water.
It's quite beany.
Yeah. So good. It's not about what you're drinking, it's about who you're drinking with. And if Klump wants to drink bean water and some bean juice with his drinking buddies, he's going to do so. And I
agree. I concur, sir.
Yikes.
Indeed.
Indubitably.
I am having... Amanda's all
Producer,
like,
that implies at some point we got somewhat to begin with. We have not gotten on a hill.
No.
Good point. It's just episode 1. We're still figuring it out. We're still working out the kinks. We don't kink shame here. That's why we allow to work it out.
This is not getting better.
Baddragon.com.
It's a horrible hole that we fell into.
Speaking of which, if you use the code horrible hole, you'll get 20% off on baddragon.com. Horrible hole.
Sounds likely to me. We are having tonight, I am having Capocagna Chardonnay. Hashtag do you Capocagna. Caution, not for wine snobs. This is the wine brand that Carmela put together. Leah Van, I want to say Dam, but that is just not right. It's it's Dale, right? How do you pronounce her last name? I don't think it's Dale. I thought it was D-A-L-E. So I thought it was Dale.
Oh, then you're right.
Yeah, she's Italian, so it just leaves for me to mess it up. Or I overcompensate trying not to mess it up and therefore then just mess it up. So, but on WWE known as Carmela, on her website known as Leah, she did a thing where she released a rosé. We unsuccessfully ordered Chardonnay and Cabernet instead. We wanted to try the rosé, but the deal was if you ordered rosé the week that it dropped, you got to be part of a wine tasting happy hour
Yeah.
with Leah. That was today, right before we went on. It was actually about an hour before we came on here.
It was virtual.
So people from all over the country and world. Someone that was in there from Scotland who couldn't even get it. She won like a sort of a raffle type deal, or they did a little contest on Instagram to get a link to it. She won it. Incredible. So cool to see someone from Scotland in there just being supportive and giving Leah her flowers, as it were. But a really good time. It was an hour long. We talked wine, we talked wrestling, we talked places. Like, we just talked geography, weather, like... Wow. We just talked about all sorts of stuff. It was a really cool, relaxed time. So if hashtag do you Capocagna, if the answer is no, then the answer needs to be yes. You're missing out on cool stuff. Great wine and cool events. Amanda, we know you got the link, but you had to work through it, and we are so sorry that you missed it.
Yeah, that's why I have an extra glass for you.
I'm bummed because, gotta be corporate Amanda. And, yeah. Oh, also, I was going to add, if you say no, you're probably from Delaware.
Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
They often do not Capocagna, which is like some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a really good time. It was really cool. It was really relaxed. Just nice. And then even Matt, her fiance, known as Corey Graves on WWE programming, was around and looming about. And so he popped his head in a couple times and made a few comments on a few things. So it was just really cool, really nice. Very humble, down-to-earth people. It was cool.
Yeah, so you're on now a first-name basis with Corey Graves.
No, that's how she referred to him, and so I was trying not to be rude.
Okay.
It was one of those things where it's all like, if I met him, I would say, yes, Mr. Corey Graves, sir. But trying not to be rude, she said, yes, Matt just said this, and I was like, thank you, Matt. Like,
and
what?
Also on their podcast, Bear With Us, they only refer to each other as their given names. So it's Leah and Matt. Matt and Leah is like their intro song.
Yeah, they have their intro song is literally Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah, Matt. Like they're driving it in. Just their dog. So yeah, all that to say is like, no, I don't feel like I'm on first name basis with either of them. And if I ever met them in public, I would not be so presumptuous as to just say, why, hello, Leah, my friend, and Matt. Like, I would never. I do feel like if I run into them, I'm going to treat them with the respect that a wrestling fan would give to a wrestler and refer to her as Carmela and him as Corey out of just respect in that realm. But I will say for the last hour, I was trying to be respectful of what she was presenting, which is she was here for wine. So I was talking to her by her wine name. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess that I just am one of those people. Can't even give Ocean Spray the respect to say his name when I greeted him. So
I'm not saying everyone deserves respect.
Well,
I'm just saying these two do.
Yeah, the point is we just use their names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm saying I respect them more than I think you respect Ocean Spray, and I think that's totally fine.
Well, hell yeah. God. Hell yeah.
Just in time in the chat saying, cheers, my dive bar friends. Always a pleasure to have the Don of the IWC coming through and having a drink with us. But yeah, so I'm having some Capo Cagna. It's going to be like my third glass already because we did the little wine thing. It was cool jumping in a little bit and helping that conversation go. It didn't occur to me till after the fact. Producer told me like, hey, a lot of people get pretty starstruck pretty quick. And at this point, I've worked with enough people of enough stature that she's like, you are able to control that and figure out how to keep the conversation going. And that was probably helpful. So it was cool. And I'm glad I did that because there were definitely moments before I was like, okay, I better start talking here, that I was all like, this is getting awkward and she's going to hang up. She's going to make this is enough. But it was great. It was awesome. It was a really good time.
Well,
so if you don't Capo Cagna, do so.
Yeah, unless you're from Delaware, because you know you're not going to do it.
Yeah, forget it.
But
don't even try.
Question for you is there anybody that you kind of like fanboyed? Or
all the time.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
When I met Bret Hart, I fucking nearly blacked out.
Well, oh, jeez.
But that was also many, many years ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bailey, this was like last year during the pandemic when I met Bailey the first and second time. Both times I've met Bailey. It was fucking tough. I was like, ugh!
Oh, Carmela did compliment Marsh here on a Bailey shirt he was wearing.
I was wearing my Ding Dong Hello shirt. She said, I like your Ding Dong shirt. And I was all like, hell yeah. And I said something about Bailey coming back with a bionic leg. She's going to be a robot. But yeah, there's definitely people I've definitely fanboyed. I mean, also one of the ones that historically, two of the biggest ones were probably Penn Jillette and Dave Goulds, who famously was the Muppeteer for Gonzo. Oh. Those two, I had literal breakdowns as I walked away. Like I couldn't handle myself. Yeah, Bret Hart, I nearly blacked out. It was tough, but I don't know. You just meet people and react, and then at the same time, a lot of these things were fan type moments where in the past year or two, I've been lucky enough to do more professional based things with some of these people. And there's been a very clear divide for me where it's like, okay, this is a work thing, like keep it cool. So much so that I've met somebody personally, pretty big star, I don't want to name, met somebody personally as a friend of my brother, and just was cool about the whole thing. Didn't mark out at all and was like, this is just what it is. It's just a friend of my brother's. Like, we just got to hang out normal. And we did. We hung out normal for a long time. They were doing a meet and greet like a few months later, and I told my brother, I was like, hey, I'm going to go do this meet and greet. Let them know I'm going to be marking out. I need my mark out moment to get that out of my system, and so I was able to separate those two things and did such. So, yeah, I am not surprised by when people get overwhelmed by being around people that they look up to and respect, because I do exactly the same thing. I've
been overwhelmed by two wrestling people.
Yeah, who do you got?
Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay. Because
he's very well spoken, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's so amazing. Yeah, I don't normally fangirl like that. Mm-hmm. I couldn't talk to him. Everyone, I'm like, you can go ahead of me. You can go ahead of me.
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
You go.
And I want to say the other was fairly recently. I'll have to go back in my memory, but yeah. I will say, obviously, I'm not shy because I kind of slapped John Cena on the hand when I met him. Yeah, because he was smiling in the dimples and whatever, and he was being flirty, and I was like, stop that.
Yeah.
Of course, the security guard got all, but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Then he winked at me, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And the first time I met Charles Robinson, I was really, really nervous. I was like, I don't know. And producers just like shouted me over, like, go say hi, you idiot. Producer, you had something you were trying to flag us down for?
I was going to say thank you, just in time, for resubscribing for a month, and also Grim Reaper for signing up for the monthly sub. Thank you, guys.
Cheers to Grim and Just in Time, friends of the show, drinking buddies. We appreciate that, buying us a drink. Mm-hmm. All right. Klump, you haven't met too many wrestlers, right? You met Hacksaw, you met Goldberg, but you haven't done too many for meet and greets, right?
No. I've only met Goldberg. I was 10. It was quite an interesting interaction. Just a small 10-year-old boy who realized that Goldberg was about the same height as him, which is odd. And then again, Marsh, I don't know why producer keeps going about
insane.
this absurd line of dialogue.
It's ridiculous.
Hacksaw was absolutely wonderful. It was a quite a pleasure to meet him. Similar to Amanda, at one point I met the president and I slapped his hand, and it was quite the row with the Secret Service, if I do say so.
Which
So-
president
Oh!
did you slap?
It was Clinton. It was-
Clinton.
yes, I was.
Yeah, he can
Okay.
be a bit grabby.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was 5. There was a cigar involved. Stain on my onesie. It was quite odd.
Amanda said, yeah.
Yeah.
He can be.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So was that the only other? Is that the only 2 wrestlers that you've really gotten a chance to meet, Klump?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is at this point everyone I've met.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was curious because I know that you don't tend to make it out to a ton of shows where you end up seeing people after the fact. So I just wanted to be sure in my mind.
Oh,
So-
I was gonna say those old WWF people. One person that I was like, oh my god, he's such a nice man. Hillbilly Jim, such a nice man. And we actually talked to him for like 2 hours at a
That's cool.
WrestleCon afterwards, and he was really, really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
When we met Hacksaw, Klump came back with us, and we were backstage with him for a little bit, and he was just hanging. He was hanging.
I do have a good one for. I accidentally bumped into Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
And and since producer insists, I'll go to a funny voice. So I was at Phoenix Comic-Con, and we were like, so a couple of my friends were in fursuits. We were trying to find a space for them to take their heads off because it's hot. And there had been a place they'd gone the day prior to, and we went over there. And the security guy was being an asshole. We're like, wonder why? He's like, no, you can't be here, and like really gruff. And so we're like, okay, chill out, dude. I got you. So we're like, kind of getting out of the area, and this police officer walks by me and goes, "Move along, everybody, move along." And I'm like, "Huh?" And I turn around and I bumped into Jeff Goldblum, who's really fucking tall. Like I was like, "Oh fuck," and I literally, "Oh fuck," and he went, "Oh hello," like literally little fingers, and they like kept walking. And I was like, "Huh?" As I'm desperately trying to get my phone. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
That's cool. That's dope. But yeah, really good time with that.
Yeah.
Definitely suggest to Capo Kanya given the opportunity. The other thing I'll throw out now on the top of the show, because we've been getting to the end of the show. Let's do it at the top of the show as we finish up our talk about drinks and meats. We got Flow State Coffee still sponsoring our show, a specialty grade coffee with L-theanine and raw cacao for productivity and creativity, which gives you better energy, focus, and mood than a regular cup of coffee, while simultaneously decreasing the negative side effects like anxiety and blood pressure. This coffee is the chill coffee, but it's also the productive coffee. Gets your brain moving, gets your wires clicking, gets you thinking and creating on a different level. It's fantastic. No jitters, all thought, and I love it. If you go to newwave.co, NOOWAVE.co, and put in promo code CHEERS, you can get 10% off any of your orders that you're putting through. If you're doing a subscription, you get 10% off your first bag. And if you are just deciding you're just going to buy 12 bags up front, because why wouldn't you? You can get 10% off that whole order. It's up to you. However you want to do it, you save as much as you want. But outside of that, you guys want to talk a little bit of news?
yeah.
I don't know what kind of news you guys came across. I don't have a ton of it until we get into the actual shows, but there was a couple things that took place that I thought was worth mentioning. Actually, maybe it's just the one. I think maybe it's really just the one thing that I think that we ought to talk about. I didn't see any birthdays. I'm just scrolling real fast to make sure I'm not missing a thing. 2 things. So we'll start with this one. Jonah, formerly known as Bronson Reed, has made his NJPW America debut out in Riverside, California. To see him pop up in NJPW of America, really damn cool. Amanda,
Incorrect.
what do you think about this?
Well, first of all, he actually came out in San Jose.
He showed up in San Jose, but his in-ring debut was Riverside.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I was bummed when I saw that because I didn't go to that show, but you know, things happen. It's Ocean Spray. No, I saw enough of him on the cruise, but I'm really, really excited that he's with New Japan. I mean, it's a great addition because when you look at it, Cobb is there and another big guy. And, I can't wait to see Jonah face Shingo Takagi. That's going to be fire.
Yes.
I think. And it's great that he's out there. And I'm sure he's going to take dates of other stuff here and there. So I hope he goes back to PWG because he's such a great guy. He's such a nice man. And he beat the shit out of Sammy Guevara for me. So he's going to be A-okay in my book.
Yeah, can't knock him for that. That's for sure. I didn't see the match that he had, but I'm assuming it had to be good because he's never put on anything bad. So
yeah.
And then Just in Time is saying Battle in the Valley where Jonah debuted was great. So if he saw it, yeah. I'm excited that he's just back out there. I know that he had an interview with Wrestling Inc. with Nick Hausman where he was asked kind of directly, where has he been? What the hell's going on here? And he basically said that it was at this point or at that point all visa related, all work visa related. And he had companies, he had plans, he had potential bookings, but he couldn't solidify anything because of the work visa thing. And as soon as he had that sorted out, which he said he was close to, that we were going to start seeing him, and then it's popped up. So I'm really glad that he's got that shit sorted out because I've known a few people with different visa issues, and that is a nightmare and a half. So excited he's back on the scene. Klump, any thoughts on him? Did Klump leave? He left. Nope.
I got food. Sorry.
Oh, he had food. Klump, any thoughts on Bronson Jonah showing back up in JPW?
That's awesome. I'm super excited for that. I think outside of NXT, that would probably be the best spot for him. I'm excited for NJPW for this because if there's one thing these WWE releases have meant to me is that you are getting a very, very talented group of people in other places that have TV experience and a lot of training and ring work. So somebody going to another place, Bronson Reed had I'm really still shocked he's gone because he had so much fucking potential. This is a huge get for NJPW, and I'm curious to see where he is in 2 years with them.
I will agree that between Jonah and Karrion Kross, those are two dudes that even on the indies you thought this is a Vince McMahon wet dream. Like there is no way Vince McMahon isn't going to eat these two dudes up and shoot them to the moon. And when you got that close to them and you thought this is it, there's nowhere but up for these two dudes, and for them to be released when they was easily two of the most baffling of the releases of all people. Even Bray Wyatt, although baffling, there was the belief and the understanding there's possible that he asked for his release and he wanted to do things like Hollywood. You could talk your way out of it with Bray. But with Jonah, Bronson, and Karrion Kross, there was fucking nothing. You're just all like, how? Like, how? These guys were on a platter for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see them because I like that style of wrestling. I like their everything about those guys. So.
Oh yeah.
Klump, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say he did eat them up, and then he shot them to NJPW, and we will see respectively.
That's a good point. Great point right there. Just in time to say Benny Murphy made his NJPW debut against Okada at that same show. That's cool too. He's fantastic, and a Buddy Murphy Okada match sounds definitely worth a watch.
Oh, hell yeah!
It does. Yeah. Speaking of the New Japan shows, kind of is news-ish. Okay. At the San Jose show, Chris Dickinson got very injured and had to have surgery.
I saw you hurt his leg pretty bad.
It did look pretty bad. And of course, he was, stuck in San Jose. I don't know if he's gone back home to New York, but part of me was like, oh, this weekend, if he's still there, I'm like, go bring him some food and, whatever. But it's really sad. But apparently he's already up and around walking And I think that he's so fit that, I don't see him being out as long as they think, because they think about 7 months. He'll probably cut that time in half, probably.
Well, that's my concern. Is it's not his inability to be athletic.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of those guys who is such a fighter that the big fear is that he rushes back, because realistically, the scene 3 months from now to 7 months from now will still accept Chris Dickinson the same way.
Oh yeah,
he's too good at what he does. He's got too good of a reputation. That if he waits the 7 months or even makes it 8 or 9 months to really rehab that thing back to where it's got to be, I think that's what you do, because they're going to accept him back and put him in a big thing. His return will be big.
Oh,
if they make it 3 months and it's rushed and he hurts it again and makes it worse, that's when you get a shortened career. And that's my concern, is that he's a fighter and he wants to get back in it. I hope that he's got a team around him who slows him down.
Yeah. I think if anything, I know like Brett Lauderdale's not going to book him like that. There's no way, because,
there's no need.
There's no need.
You've built your reputation already.
Yeah.
No.
But he'll be back on New Japan, when it comes back, probably doing the Violence Unlimited with Brody King. So that's actually a very good pairing. So
yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. R.I.P. ROH.
Yeah. 100%. And then also in tune with GCW, Leon Ruff is making his GCW debut. Did you see that?
That's exciting.
Did you catch who he's going to be in a match with, or do we just know he's going to be there?
I don't know who he's going to be in a match with. I think it's probably announced, but I don't know. But it was more exciting that he got a nice Giancarlo video package.
Yep.
And not only that too, but I think that he'll fit in very well with the GCW, the roster.
Yes. When I saw he was debuting in GCW, I felt like this is probably the right spot for him. You know what I mean? It felt like a good thing. So I agree with that completely. The last little bit of news is about the Pro Wrestling Tees retail store. Did you see anything about this? Did you guys catch this?
Yeah, I saw that.
The physical location will be closing down because their online demands are so high that they feel that it's going to be best for them to shut down the retail portion of that store and expand their production into that area, and basically have pickups only, but not actually have a front-facing store that you can just kind of walk in and peruse. That they're going to be just strictly e-commerce and a warehouse where they're just going to be pumping out product and have a pickup window,
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Like I would
wish.
Go ahead, Klump.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, there's not a lot of places you can, as a wrestling fan, go and explore and experience. Maybe you can't make a vacation around it, but like if you're in Chicago and it's a big city for it and you're a wrestling fan, that's awesome. You can go to some shows. There probably are shows every weekend, and then be like, oh, I'm going to go to the pro wrestling store. That's fucking tight.
Yeah, 100%. When Kevlar was in Milwaukee, they were going to be going out to Chicago for a day or two, and he checked out the address to see if it was going to be around where he was going to be, because he thought if he's close, he's going to go check it out. You know what I mean? And I don't know if he got the chance to walk around through it or not, but ultimately it was on the docket of possibilities. Like you said, I kept thinking to myself, next time I'm in Chicago, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to go walk around. Because like you said, dude, there's not a lot of places that wrestling fans can go to and feel like this is our store. A lot of times it feels like we're a part of a store, or we're almost a hindrance. Like if you go to Hot Topic right now, they have the least amount of wrestling shirts than I've ever seen them have, and most all of them are in the clearance section. And I don't think that that's strictly because they didn't sell. I do think that there's a huge part where AEW is removing them. I think AEW wants people to go to AEW shop, and I think that makes sense, and I'm not trying to knock that, but rewind a year and a half ago, and you would go in there and you'd see Bullet Club shirts, Moxley shirts. You'd see, that's where I got my Cody Rhodes shirt, my first Cody Rhodes shirt. And I was even looking at American Nightmare pajama pants and stuff. Like that was all there. And now the only stuff you see is in the clearance section. And I think it's because AEW is pulling away from Hot Topic and going more towards their isolated fan area, which is fine. But again, it doesn't give us a place to go where we feel like, oh, look, we're here. You know what I mean?
But I don't get that because, like, and WWE's in Hot Topic too, but they've been going away more and more because, well, notoriously, like when Bullet Club got really, really, really big, it's like, oh, we're not seeing your stuff in WrestleMania. We're seeing this other shit we sell. But, I mean, WWE doesn't pull their stuff from other companies, and I think that's a good thing because for kids, for fans, like, if I'm a kid and I'm walking around the mall with my mom, my dad, older sister, and, you know, I'm into wrestling, if I'm not into WWE, say I'm into AEW, it's cool to walk into Hot Topic and see that stuff. It really sucks to be like, okay, there's nothing here, because I've had those days where I'm walking around like there's 3 stores I want to go to and we're not near any of them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I've been to the Pro Wrestling Tees store. I went during All In weekend because I wanted to see the autograph door. So all the wrestlers who've ever gone in there, they have the white door, and they all autograph it. So it was really cool to see that door. And then, of course, the other door, which says employees only, and Colt Cabana. That was great. Funny. Yeah, I took a picture in front of it. But it was really cool to kind of see, you know, how they had, you know, how they kind of operated, because it was really, really cool. And I thought, you know, they did, you could get any shirt you wanted, and they would do it just right there for you. And I think maybe that's probably part of the reason why. But then again, remember, AEW started out as a t-shirt company. So, makes sense.
True.
Makes sense.
It does. It does. Especially with that CM Punk shirt.
God,
so much of their production. Well, I mean, it fucked up a lot of their production for like a week or two there.
Yeah, but you know what?
Go ahead.
You know, that was to be expected. So, I mean, honestly, like, yeah.
Well, guys, as long as we're also on the topic of a lot of these things, especially we were talking about Karrion Kross and Bronson Reed a second ago, just 7 minutes ago, information just dropped. So you got some breaking news if you just happen to be hanging out with us, but it sounds like most of our fellow drinking buddies are already on it. WWE has just announced a number of new releases, and I'm going to go through the names with you right now, guys.
Fuck, really?
Just 7 minutes ago, they released John Morrison, which is a tough
he's
one.
going to be Johnny whatever. What's his name? Yes.
Johnny Elite, maybe? Johnny Dynamite? I don't know.
God.
No.
They released Top Dollar, Ashante Adonis, and Isaiah Swerve Scott. The rest of Hit Row.
Swerve? Oh my God. Oh my God.
The rest of Hit Row, which is also wild when you think about that Top Dollar was their guy for the Hidden Treasure show. And he was fresh out of the NFL. He was what they're looking for. And he's the one who brought together Hit Row. He's talked about it, that Hit Row was his idea when he was sort of on the indies, but he didn't do a ton on the indies, that he was doing a kind of a rap group thing, and he brought in Ashante and B-Fab, and they were able to add Isaiah Swerve to that. So for them to release Top Dollar when he's kind of what they were looking for in that realm is really shocking. But the names don't stop. We also have Tegan Knox, which is a tough one.
That sucks.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. She always had the crowd and never had the chance. And speaking of always having the crowd, Drake Maverick also on the list.
That one, that's not, to me, unfortunately, that's not surprising. And also, if anything, I'm happy about that for him.
I don't completely disagree with you. I do think that there's a huge bright light at the end of that tunnel for him.
Yes. And we can go into it more in a second, but yeah, keep going. Is there anyone else?
There are 2 more names on there. Shane Thorne, famously Slapjack, famously also trained Ron Funches for his wrestling match. The legend Slapjack, now gone. And the final one is the one that people cite every time there's a release and says, how could they not release this one person? So maybe we'll finally find a new narrative as to releases, is Jackson Riker was released. I always thought there was potential there, but I never quite saw any of it click. So I could see that either way, and I understand the things he said and his out of pocket comments, and I understand all that. And I don't think having a political view should be the status of whether or not you're employable or not. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I also don't necessarily think that every tweet should have an impact on everybody's career every time. However, I do think that there was a lot of potential there, and there was just something beyond that factor alone that wasn't ever clicking. I don't know. We'll see what happens next with him. You know what I mean? A former Marine, guy had a good look.
I think maybe Morrison was thinking about it right now. I wonder if he had, because Frankie Monet, Taya, forget that. Frankie Monet was awful.
Thank you.
I think that maybe he did ask for his release.
I think that's very possible. That once she left and he was floundering anyways, he was trying this new character. He didn't have the Miz going with him. He did seem a lot like he was floundering, and the whole purpose of him leaving, but the first place, was to prove himself as a main eventer. He proved that, comes back, and he goes back to the middle low card. So
yeah,
I could understand. I could totally see him asking for that.
Well, yeah, I hope that he does go to AEW. Him and Taya. Taya will definitely improve the women's side of it, but with John, I mean, he's just so good. And it's just incredible. And they're missing kind of that fluidity that he brings. I mean, Seidel's cool and all, but it's more, I get more excited to see John than anything. So not because, that's my homie, but it's amazing. Like when you see him do his parkour, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. And
if you haven't seen it, Boone the Bounty Hunter was actually really good. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. We got Topsy OW in the chat. Looks like a first-time caller. Cheers to Topsy coming through here. This is WWE Thanos clapping themselves.
Yeah.
Cheers from coming through, and says, you would think WWE try to keep talent to compete with the AEW. I have a feeling Vince is going to sell at this point. I don't think any of this is relevant to that concept either. I don't think you need to keep them to compete, and I don't think you need to sell them to sell. Just being completely honest, I think that Vince is just no longer in a mindset that he has to hoard talent to prevent them from going to AEW, because literally they've seen the worst possible scenario play out and make little difference in that realm. AEW, like it or not, is as successful as they were without CM Punk, without Daniel Bryan, and without Miro as they were with them. That's not to say they're unsuccessful. It's to say that their demographic that they are saying advertisers want are really close to the same as they were before they came in. So knowing that there's no real talent here that's going to sway that, I just don't think they care about hoarding talent like they did back in the day. And I don't think they need to.
I agree with you there. I think that's a good thing for wrestling at large, is you don't need to be Smaug hoarding talent. But I'll first kind of build into this more. They're a media company. They're not a wrestling company. They're a media company. When we were talking about like the idea of like wrestling places to go, if the WWE opened up a Hall of Fame facility, it could immediately be a tourist attraction. AEW can't do that. New Japan arguably could do that in Japan, not here in the States. So that could be amazing. WWE could open a wrestling Hall of Fame and connect with other promotions and still probably get their support in it. That's awesome. Because to many people, WWE is wrestling regardless of who is present, like what talent they utilize, what people they have on it. regardless of if they sell or not. You know, at this point, if they were to sell, it would less be for this giant roster and more for, hey, you got a ready-made media empire that you can do and have a consistent viewer base with that will watch. There's now a viewer base for a different promotion that's organic and awesome, and they built that cool, but we have ours too. And yeah, it's not what it was at points, but there's a lot of arguments with how that's going, and it's just different. And truthfully, to me, it's good that we're losing these people, because it's long been rough to watch people you care about go to WWE, you get excited, and then see them not do well.
Yes.
I will real quick too for Amanda's point. I'm going to shit on your boy. I don't want to see him go to AEW at all. I really, my biggest negative on AEW, and it's a WCW and a TNA thing, and they're I think starting to do more with it. Is I'm really tired of seeing former WWE talent get thrown to the main event right away and get belts.
Yeah.
Or get in that title scene. You got to keep building it. And they're starting to, or at least they're giving people time away to kind of do things and like strip them and then rebuild them up, or having some of their talent build up. But I'm not going to be happy if I see 15 people appear in AEW all going after Paige and all being, fed to him, though I'd prefer that over Kenny,
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. And I will say, and we'll talk about it, obviously Hangman Page, the new champion. I do think that there's a lot to be said for the fact that they have a lot of big stars who are former WWE top talent who are not the champion right now, and I think in a number of ways it undermines that championship, and Hangman Page would be a bigger star now if it weren't for those guys being there. It's not that Hangman Page lost his spot, it's that he lost his importance, and there's a huge difference. Yeah. A lot of people were saying he wasn't buried by storyline, he was buried by the booking of others and by the acquisitions of others. Hangman Page is maybe top five if people who are important in that company right now, and he's the fucking champion. He should be the number one without a doubt. And right now, the question is, why are these other 4 or 5 people not the champions, and why is it Page? And he has to prove that. He has to make that title, because right now the title is undermined by having too much talent that is, quote, too big to need the title. You know what I mean? When people say they don't need the title, they can be an attraction. There's only so many not need the title talent you can have before that title stops not seeming important. You know what I mean? So I agree with you in that it's hard to want them all to go there, because it's just going to muddy that water. I'm going to hit up the chat real quick. There's a bunch going on in there. It says, Grimmer says, wow, hit row though. Once the significant other leaves, it's tough to stay. Yeah, I could definitely see Johnny just being like, hey, we thought it was going to be a whole thing, and what the hell am I doing anyways? Let's just go ahead and cut bait and both go. Topsy also says, I have a feeling Liv Morgan will get released after she loses to Becky Lynch. I don't know why you would say that or think that or want that, but she's very, very popular right now. She's very over. She does well with her merch. If she's happy to be there, then I don't know why that's even a thing, but possible, I guess. Lunar says, if WWE opened a Hall of Fame as an attraction, I bet it would go under within 10 years. That also doesn't make sense to me. I think that if they put enough stuff in there, like if they open that warehouse, I don't think it would go under in 10 years. I think they could do not a lot and keep it running. You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing too with it is if they opened it, another review, and this is if they, well, we'll throw this out. Say they do sell, or say they kind of create a permanent partnership with Comcast Universal because of Peacock. Mm-hmm. What if you made a WWE feature of Universal at their parks? What if you make a thing that's not like Apple famously created the Apple stores as not a profit-bearing structure. Now, correct, in the end it became that, but the goal of it was to create an experience there. If there's a profit in other areas, you can create a thing that may not necessarily make the most money, but would become a really cool thing for fans. Disneyland and Disney World are not the most profitable parts of Disney by any means, but they're not getting rid of the fucking things.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't have to be the number one moneymaker to be very important to the overall experience of it. Like we talked about when I went to GCW, just in like on a small level, you know what I mean? Bumping into Jacob Fatu and having that minute with him. Well, fuck, if I'm not a fan for life now just because of that, having those kinds of like tangible places. And what did we start this conversation with? Pro Wrestling Tees went under. And what was our first thought? Fuck, if only wrestling fans had a place to go to just feel like it was their own. You put up a WWE Hall of Fame and it has all this legendary stuff there. It's going to feel like it's ours anyways. And yeah, they're not releasing people from the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Like you can argue that AEW has more WWE Hall of Famers on their TV weekly than WWE does. And it's an argument you can't dispute because it's just the truth of the matter. But those are guys who just didn't want to be under Legends contracts, and WWE didn't want to put a bunch of nostalgia acts on every one of their shows. AEW does. Like it or not, that's what they're doing. Let's
You know
see.
what?
Go ahead.
Okay, you know what I think would be great is I would love Tony to revamp Lucha Underground.
MLW's already doing that.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yes, it's called Azteca Underground.
Oh
They
shit!
have
Sorry.
they have Dario Cueto because they have
Yep.
Mino Huertas on it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's dope.
Okay. Oh.
They're
Oh,
doing the
shit.
thing,
Well, then-
Amanda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm behind. Oh, Corporate Amanda behind. Oh,
Damn it, Corporate Amanda.
Yeah, I know. So
Topsy
maybe we'll
also,
see, Johnny
he says,
Azteca.
yep, Tony Azteca. Topsy does say the surprise entry in that top 5 is actually Eddie Kingston, and that's 100% true. Eddie Kingston feels more important than Hangman Page right now in so many ways. And let's be honest, objectively speaking, Eddie Kingston is a jobber. He has not won a single important match on that TV since he started. He started losing and has kept losing, and still he's been able to raise his stock and seem important. All the way to the point where even though he loses every fucking fight he's ever in, he feels more important than your fucking world champ, and that's a problem. And I don't think by funneling in more big talent that it's going to get solved that way. I think it's a very complicated problem. I don't know how to fix the problem. I'm not smart enough to be doing that stuff. We're just a bunch of dumb drinking buddies hanging out talking wrestling. So we don't have the answers to stuff, but it is observations we have from the outside looking in. And GR Lunar does say, I'm going to beat both of you guys up for disagreeing with me. I don't think he could, Klump. I think all his muscles gone to his head.
Yeah.
I think we would cry so hard we'd win the fight.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No doubt. Drake Maverick, about 20 minutes ago, so about 10 minutes after the news of his release, put out a video saying my immediate thoughts. It looks like it's about just shy of 5 minutes long and it looks really heavy in production. It makes you wonder how long he's been working on it. I was going to play it because I thought it was just him talking, but I don't know. It looks like there's a lot of silence and video stuff, so I would just suggest going to Drake Maverick's Twitter and checking it out. I'm going to send it to both of you guys so it's in your thing, so if you have headphones on, you can check it out anyways. Let's see, I'm going to send it to you. And I'm going to send this one over to Crybaby Klump here. But yeah, he put out another video, his original thoughts. Crybaby Klump. All right, I'm sending it to a group, so I don't know how to get the thing to you. Either way, there we go there. There we go here. What are we doing here? Let's see. All right. I'm not seeing any more releases.
They're like, we shocked you enough.
Jeremy in time, not in the chat right now, but one of the friends of the show actually retweeted and put, this just isn't right at this point. There's no point of getting upset, and there's no point of investing in WWE stars anymore because they get released in a split second because of budget cuts. Here's the narrative that nobody wants to talk about. None of you were invested in any of these people that much anyways. They're not releasing their top guys. They're releasing mid-card to low-card people who haven't been on TV in months most of the time. Mm-hmm. And how much of an investment do you really have in Hit Row if all you do is watch SmackDown? You've seen them 3 times. I don't think the investment is there. I think that's an over-exaggeration, and I think it's an over-romanticization of the whole thing. And I'm not saying it's not fair. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. But I am saying you didn't buy a Hit Row shirt. You didn't have a Jackson Riker shirt. You talk nothing but shit about Slapjack. Jake Maverick, you were happy to see him get a contract, but you never cared he didn't have merch. You know what I mean? Like, the investment wasn't actually there. But you feel the investment because you think it sucks that they're gone. You wanted more for John Morrison, but did you buy a fucking drip stick while they were online?
Oh, hell
You know what I mean?
no. Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be realistic. Let's be honest. Were you truly invested, or are you saying you're invested now because they're gone and it's easy to say that? You know what I mean? These are not long-term story things. Tegan Nox. I fucking love Tegan Nox. She's done nothing on the main roster. She was in a tag team for 3 months, number one contender a couple of times, and hasn't been on since the draft. Were you truly invested? Were you watching every week because of Nox? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just short-term stuff, and I know it's shitty and it sucks, but let's be honest. Like, that narrative makes no sense to me.
Well, like Drake, when I heard that, first thing I thought is, honestly, it's about time. And I don't mean that in such a shitty way, but like,
yes,
he had an amazing moment last year.
Yes.
And then he was put through the Cruiserweight Classic, and it was a great story. And I mean, in my view, the ball got fucking dropped with him after that. I was like, okay, cool, awesome. Like, yeah, he was in an interesting tag team situation with Killian Dane, but that got really tired really quick, and it became, to me, really apparent, we're not going to put you with anyone of note except in a role as a manager as a joke because of your size. You have a lot to offer. You are a fantastic worker. Unfortunately, because of so many of our wrestlers being over 6 fucking foot, I'm sorry, dude. That's just going to be not working for you. And that is really tough.
It is tough. And he has a brilliant mind. I wish that he would be still there in a backstage role, but I also think that he passionately wants to keep wrestling. So I agree with you that when I saw Drake Maverick, my first thought was, that sucks. I'm not going to see much Drake Maverick. But I also thought his stock right now is higher than it ever was before he came through, because of the moments he had last year. Because of that re-signing, because of the Cruiserweight thing, his stock is so high right now that any place that can grab him should grab him and probably will grab him. You know what I mean? A lot of these people, I think a lot of people who hate on the narrative of WWE releases, not that I love the releases, but I think the thing we forget is that these are all people we wanted more success for, and almost all of them now have a higher market value because of what they did get.
That is a huge positive. You know, these people coming out, and if you're a promotion that wants to do something, you can, you know, and it might be, unfortunately too, I think as a positive, or my hope is, go tour the indies a bit first, because that would, to me, benefit, like, give them a little bit of a pause before they appear in some TV role in a big promotion.
Yeah. Do some cool stuff in GCW. Go to PWG. Do some cool shit. Because that's just it right now, is that your notoriety's big. Yeah. Do some Cardona stuff.
Oh, God, Matt Cardona, shoot.
Yeah, his stock is so high. Cardona has even said in an interview recently how much he loved being in WWE, how much that being a WWE star was always his dream, or being a wrestler there was always his dream, and he did that, and he wouldn't take a single day away from that. But at the end of it all, at the end of the day, 2020 was his favorite year as a wrestler. It was the most fun he ever had. That doesn't mean he didn't love it, and doesn't mean he didn't raise a stock. He learned so much. He got a lot out of it. I think all these people are going to end up on the other side with a whole other career ahead of them. And it's up to them to grab it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm bummed, but I'm really, really hopeful for all this talent, because to go back to the idea of, were you truly invested? If you were, you're going to support them wherever they go. And the fact that you felt at all that you may have been invested means that they have an investability on the market now. You know what I mean? Like, no, you weren't all that invested. This isn't a big loss to those shows in that way, but it's a huge gain for these people individually. They were there. They were on the show. They can say, look we have this support. I'm worth more than I've ever been, and I'm going to capitalize on that, you know? You just don't have the machine behind you anymore. You're your own machine now, man. That's not the worst place to start.
You know who I'm surprised was not on the list? Because we haven't seen him in forever, is Timothy Thatcher.
I'm wondering what the hell's going on with Thatcher.
Well, I was just looking right now. It says that, after he hasn't wrestled since like August.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And August. And he's out indefinitely.
Well,
so when you hear that, you're like, oh, he's probably gone or going.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Because his style doesn't fit WWE at all.
He's an incredibly talented, scary person. Like his character's great, but then it doesn't work when you build this narrative. These giant monsters, him versus Braun Breaker, him versus what was that big fuck with Pete Dunne when he appears with
Holland?
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't. He makes you think of Spike Dudley on meth, in comparison. But he could be something awesome somewhere else if they give him the time. I also, with a lot of these where we have pauses and seeing them in the ring, I think a narrative that is kind of shitty here is that WWE is releasing them. How much of this is releasing and how much of this is not coming to terms on new contracts? Because that is fair. Like if I see when you say Drake Maverick put this out and it looks like he did a lot of work on it, that to me says that this is somebody who's like, I don't really want to be here anymore. And that can be that they view it as toxic. That could be like they view, I might be better doing it somewhere else. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it is a bit unfair in this to immediately directly blame WWE. Not every company's for every person. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, and I'm not saying any of these people are or are not, but we did hear rumors last time that vaccination status played a role in people getting released. We don't know what kind of role any of that has played here. It could be people. I mean, it could be, it could not be. It's just, I think it's a much more muddled landscape than it was before. And at the same time, for all these people who hate WWE and then see the releases and say, this is why I hate them, you are a hypocrite. There's just no way around it. If you hate them and they release talent you love, you truly should be happy. Because, like we've said, it's up to them to grab on to their investment and to their value and run with it. Because independent wrestling right now, money in wrestling is big right now. You can make money doing it. And right now you are a name and people know you and you are a face. And if you get out there and hit it, you'll be fine. If you think WWE's evil and then they release people and that's your proof and you hate that, you wish they never released them, but you hated them to begin with, then I don't know where you stand. I don't know your argument. You either want them there or you don't. So I just feel bad for people who wanted to be there and that was their dream and they had the drive and they believed they were going to make something of it and then it just didn't happen. You know what I mean? Yeah, like a Jake.
Well, because now he's not even... It got him very depressed, and he's not even wrestling anymore. It's
took him out of it all together.
I'm, not going to do this anymore. Unlike Leo Rush, but whatever.
Yeah.
How many times has he retired? 12.
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy and it's messy, and it's always
generation's Terry Funk.
Yeah, but for other reasons. It's I don't know, it's wild. And I don't know that this, like I said before, I don't know that this is, I don't think you need to release these people to sell your company, and I don't think that you need to hold on to these people to keep your company. So I do think that the narrative of this is proof that they're selling is a little weak, but they could still sell. I just don't think this means this. I don't think this is an indication of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they sold, but I don't think that the conversation is going to be like, well, they let John Morrison go, so of course they're going to sell now.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds silly because it is. So I think there's a lot more to it. And like you said, Klump, exactly like you said, I think with bringing on guys like Nick Khan and a lot of the corporate structure stuff they were doing, I think makes a big difference on the decisions that are made. I'm not saying that Vince doesn't have final say of stuff, but I am saying I don't think he wants the final say in everything anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
I think Vince has stepped away from being the final say of absolutely everything. I think he'll put his foot down when he wants to. And I think you'll probably see some of these people get let go and go, that sucks. You know what I mean? But unless he has a personal interest in that guy for some reason, I don't think he's fighting for people.
When Ferrari finally sold to Fiat in the early 1980s, Enzo Ferrari maintained control of the racing team and very specific projects for road cars, because to Enzo Ferrari, that car company was purely a race company. The cars were meant to fund everything else. As it became a notoriety, a luxury item, all this other stuff, he really could care less. And that was a point of pride to him. He in getting out, so that led to Fiat controlling a lot more of the vehicles and stuff like that. And kind of, yeah, like this, if Vince's passion point is the stories he can do, the creative, we don't know. It could be he loves helping people get up. You know, he has these people he wants to work with. He sees another show that, you know, maybe maybe in his eyes, he wants to focus on creative and have people handle the business, because he doesn't want to, you know, take it to a personal level where maybe it impedes that ecosystem. That's all great, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you on that. I don't know if I have a ton else on it, though. I just get the feeling that let's see. Oh, we'll hit the chat. Justin Time says, best of luck to all of them, even Jackson Riker. I like your attitude, Justin. I mean, regardless, yeah, I could not like you as a person. You know what I mean? Like, Jackson Riker sounds like you might be a dick.
Yeah, but I don't want him to be...
I don't want to end up in a gutter dead or something. Like, go on, do your thing. Maybe find a different avenue. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, like, and to me, like,
you can always turn around. We don't know that he hasn't turned around. You know what I mean? So, go ahead, Klump.
I was saying, and I've been somebody who's been rather, like, maybe like a bit more away from you on that, where I view these people in a sense as public figures, and I admire when WWE does do things to remove people when they get kind of rough and say dumb, shitty things, because they are a public figure. It's part of, essentially, it's part of them seeing through the branding of characters. If your name is Jackson Riker on Twitter and you're Jackson Riker here and you're saying this shit and we can attach you to it easily enough, okay, we got some concerns. If, you know, just as much as if you're AJ Styles and you're doing Twitch, and it's not to me monetizing it, it's, I'm a big company, you're a representative of it. It's, you and I both worked for a very large company, and they were big on don't wear your uniforms outside if you're, because boy, does that look like shit if we're doing that and do something horrible outside of it.
Yeah.
To me, yeah, I don't want him to, you know, be gone from the universe, but I do wish him the best in his avenues, but part of me is also like, it's about time that we address that one versus some of the other ones. Like, shit.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with any of that. Like, yeah, there was a potential problematic thing there. Should be addressed. It's not a hope you die on the way out kind of a deal. It's this probably just isn't best for you. This isn't best for all parties involved, you know, so. Yeah. It's crazy about Hit Row, man.
Yeah.
I wonder, and obviously purely speculation while drinking with my buddies here, I wonder, just thinking out loud, if they did release BFAB because of vaccination status and it was kind of out of their hands, if after they saw a couple of segments of Hit Row without BFAB, even Twitter did not take kindly to it, which, again, for people who talk shit online and then say, how could you release this person I was just talking shit on? Fuck off. You're a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they started doing segments without BFAB, I saw them basically trending of they're not the same without BFAB. I wish BFAB was here. Something feels flat with them. I saw so much. Nothing was, I'm glad they're still getting TV time. Nothing was, they're making the best out of what they got. Nothing's like, they're really turning this poor situation around. It was, this is nothing without her. Oh, she brought so much to the table. And I'm not saying those aren't fair takes to have, but I am saying when that's the vast majority of takes to have, it's really easy to see the company saying, well, we had no choice with her, but it looks like nobody wants the rest of you.
Yeah. And there is a fairly large contingent of wrestling fans that are supportive of vaccinations. So, to me, I stay out of it a bit, but my thought would have been like, yeah, I'm happy I would be like, awesome, they're moving on. I'm glad that, we have responsible people on TV, because that's my view. It is like, Jesus.
Well, to be fair, I don't think it was a responsibility thing. I think it was a booking thing. I don't think they wanted to figure out who they could and couldn't have on Survivor Series based off vaccination status alone. Just to be fair.
I'm trying to give you something and not be persistently shitting on WWE when you throw it out there.
I'm not shitting on them. I think that it might have been a roundabout way to not take a stance. You know what I mean?
That's fucking fair too.
You know what I mean?
They don't want another Drake Wirtz situation.
Yeah. Look, we can't take a stance on here, but we can't book you either, so we're fucked. Yeah. So you got to go. And to be fair to you, I think it's also good to say, well, at least I know the company, for whatever motivation they have behind it, has responsible vaccinated people on TV, setting the example that you got to be safe for public safety and health. And I get that, and that's definitely a thought process that's out there. But I also think that thought process is regardless of motivation. I think there's a good chance motivation was business-minded, which for business is probably most fair, right? To have a completely business-minded decision. However, I wonder if the release of the rest of Hit Row had to do with the release of BFAB and then Twitter not taking so kindly to Hit Row after that and saying, well, what's Hit Row without BFAB? Could easily, in a heartbeat, go, well, if you don't like them, let's get rid of them. Not a big deal. No investment. You guys weren't invested in them. All we did was make one change, and you said, fuck these guys. So we'll do you one better. We'll let them go. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. And I don't know. I'm not there. Just a drinking dummy with a podcast speculating. It just feels real possible that people talking shit on wrestlers has a negative side effect. And that's why we're quiet about people. I'd rather create a buzz about people we like than to be putting out a ton of negative shit to be like, oh, why is this person trending? Oh, because everyone hates them? Come on.
Hey, I get joy out of calling Ocean Spray Ocean Spray. Come on now.
That's a good point. And to be honest, if he disappeared, you're going to bring him up at some point just because it's fun to call him Ocean Spray and boo him.
Exactly. And also, I can say one of my favorite phrases that Don Callis had ever said. The best one that's ever come out of his mouth.
What do you say?
There are three things in life that are certain: death, taxes, and Skrull beats Osprey.
Yeah.
You're the man, Don Callis, just for that.
I will say this: I'll shit on Don Callis forever because I could see I'm cool with him disappearing because fuck Don Callis, and that's purely based on him in AEW. I didn't mind him too much in NJPW. Good Lord, is he terrible?
Yeah. All right, no, that's fair. I don't disagree with you, Klump. In the chat, though, Bishop swinging through saying, hey, I'm a drinking dummy with a podcast, too. That's why you're one of our drinking buddies, Bishop. Right here in the dive bar of the IWC, we invite all dummy drinking idiots with a podcast to come here.
Even
just fucking hash it out. Just hash it out.
Delawareans.
Yeah.
Invited.
When I think about some of these dudes too, Top Dollar, I feel a little concerned for. I feel like he was a little bit made for WWE. Scott's going to be just fine. Knox is going to be bigger than ever.
Yeah.
Knox is going to debut somewhere and take that title.
Oh, yeah.
Or she's going to go to AEW and get completely lost in the shuffle like all the other talented women they actually bring on board there. That's the most frustrating part about AEW right now, is they've been systematically building a very strong women's roster and burying them under the non-talented ones that they feel invested in.
Yeah.
They're starting to be the ones to hoard talent.
Yeah.
But at least they let them do stuff elsewhere. So there's that.
AEW is like, and this is something I'll say is kind of shitty with AEW. Is they do this with male talent, which I think speaks to a kind of shitty implicit bias, whether deliberate or not. But fuck, you have a lot of female talent you're pulling that's fantastic. Boy, oh boy, it'd be cool to see them actually, make Britt fight for a title and get it back.
Yep. Yeah. Make her when she earned her spot on the top, it was when they signed her on first. And I really think that right now she is maybe not even top 5 of the most skilled promos or wrestlers in that company, in that division. And I think it'd be great to see her knock down a peg so she can actually build up to that. Because my biggest problem with Britt in AEW for a while is that she's not been put head-to-head with people who can help elevate her, help teach her. And she could be as good as any of the 4 horsewomen if she just had someone to work with who could help her get there. And they just don't put her in there with people who can get her there. And that sucks. Apart from Thunder Rosa, which was a very short run,
Yeah.
Let's see. Just in Time saying the die bar of the IWC is always going to be better journalists than those that call themselves journalists. It's because we make it up, dude. I'll tell you we're making it up. It's cool that you're here and that you're having a good time, at least helping us break down or see through this a little bit. But, I wonder if Knox's injuries just didn't get the best of her at this point. If they basically just looked at the roster, looked at all the strong women they have right now, and then were like, wait, this one's had how many surgeries?
Mm-hmm.
Which sucks. Just fucking sucks. And she's felt a little snake bit from the start because of that. She's always just not quite made it to that next thing because of an injury, and that sucks because she's so charismatic.
Yeah.
Grim Reaper says, I'm happy that Shotzi is on her way up with the heel turn. Oh, yeah. The stuff that Shotzi's doing right now is pretty fucking cool. I'm really excited. Cool. And Shotzi on Twitter today said she was dyeing her hair by herself in the dark and messed it up really bad. So, gives you a reason to tune in tomorrow night, see how bad it looks.
Nice. Usually her sister does her hair, but anyways.
I don't know if she was involved or not.
No, probably not.
Just hard to say. And Grim said she survived the cuts because she showed immediate potential and her look is eye-catching. Yes. I know that Producer Lady's been referring to her as the Suicide Girl of WWE. Yeah, and she switched it up in a heartbeat. They're like, hey, can you stop doing the tank thing with the helmet and just be like a punk rock bombshell? Yeah, I'll do that right now. Sweet.
But it's Hood Slam, man, is what we saw of her at Hood Slam, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Does she do the punk rock thing better than Ruby Riott? I think so. But I don't know. But that's a hard one.
That's a good conversation.
Uh-huh.
I think they're both genuine to themselves. Mm-hmm. So I don't think anyone's putting on a front of one or the other, which I think is important. I like the conversation. That's a good head scratcher. I like it.
That.
Yeah. We'll have to really break that down sometime, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's what I have to say on that topic in and of itself. Do you guys have anything else you guys want to throw in there?
No.
I'm good. Yeah, let's jump into stuff. I think we should kind of jump into stuff and at least get a little bit of coverage into the week's shows and big pay-per-view.
That's fair. We did talk a little bit about it. AEW Full Gear took place. I don't have a ton of stuff on all of it. We don't need to go through segment by segment necessarily, but there were big moments coming out of it. And Amanda, you saw the pay-per-view, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes,
so I'm going to let you run this one. What did you want to talk about specifically out of this?
Well, one of the things that I found with, because I watch so much AEW, it's all mixing in. So I got to pull up the,
wait. Right before you get into that, Bishop does say, sorry if you already addressed this, but why are people just as upset as when Keith Lee and them got cut? Because that's the narrative, Bishop. That's just it. That's just the take of the IWC. Oh, WWE released anybody for any reason at all. That's just it. They don't say budget cuts because that's the reason. They say budget cuts because it saves both parties. You don't have to give a reason. It's a non-reason. So for one, the argument that people make of how can they say budget cuts and then also record profits, it's because it's not a real reason. It's just a business reason you can give that protects both parties from any actual issues. If any of them are released because of vaccination status and you say budget cuts, it's a non-reason. You're fine. It protects both sides. You're not telling anybody someone's unemployable. You're not telling anybody somebody was hard to work with. You're saying, it's not them, it's us. It saves both parties from a headache of HR problems or PR problems. That's what budget cut means, is we're not giving you an answer, so fuck off. That's all it is. Because the only people they tell that to is they tell that to they tell it to the talent for one reason as a shitty thing, but they also mostly tell it to the journalists who reach out for comment. It's budget cuts. Fuck off. They're just not giving them an answer. So the narrative just being that WWE is evil. No one should ever work there. Nobody should ever want to work there. WWE should hire everybody and never fire them. That's just the stance of the IWC right now. And that's why you're seeing they're just as upset, because it doesn't matter who they released or why. It just matters that WWE is evil. They need to hire everyone. They can't release anyone, and every firing is completely outrageous and unfounded. That's it. That's the idea.
Outrageous.
Outrageous. But going on, Amanda, AEW Full Gear. I know you said it was a little bit muddled in your head because you had Rampage, Full Gear, Dynamite, probably Dark Elevation.
Yes. So a couple things with Full Gear I'd like to say. One, MJF needs to not win again with the fucking ring. Okay. You
don't like him cheating?
Yep. As in cheating.
You got worked.
Yeah. Or Darby Allin. But no, I'm getting sick of that. I also want to comment that I just happen to love FTR. Man, they've got, I think that now they're finally putting them in a place where, they're really shining. So I kind of dig that. And who else was this? The Lucha Brothers are the Lucha Brothers,
What do you think about the FTR finish of the match, where they go under the ring, put on the masks, come back, and do a stupid thing, and end up losing the match?
That was a little weird. But I know why they're trying to do it and whatever, but is what it is, just because of the AAA belt and all that. But I really like what they're doing, because it's, when you look at other tag teams and what they're doing with them, this one, this little bunch of, I guess, rivalry or whatever you want to call it, it works because it's better quality wrestling, and it's got a little bit of that zest to it, which we've been losing lately, I think. But that's just my opinion. And hello, everyone knew Bryan Danielson was gonna win. Come on. If you didn't, you're stupid. Seriously.
Amanda, be honest. We talked about this show before it went on. There wasn't a single victory that wasn't easily predictable by someone who doesn't even watch the show.
Oh yeah.
It was all telegraphed forever. There was no surprises here.
I loved how Miro, though, he looked up to his god. But what I was hoping was his hot wife would come out, but didn't happen. So
still time, I guess.
Is what that is. Jurassic Express. I hate Luchasaurus. I just don't like them.
Justin says the ending was the only blemish on that tag title match, just a dumb way to warrant a rematch. But they've already had like 3 matches, I think, so I don't even know why you need a rematch. I'll tell you the one complaint I saw about this that made a lot of sense was that very little of this match felt like a pay-per-view. It mostly felt like a big Dynamite. That all these matches could have been on a Dynamite apart from MJF Darby Allin because of the perceived build. I'll give you more than the actual build. MJF Darby Allin stuff was pretty paint by numbers, pretty average wrestling stuff, but it was the kind of thing that people wanted to see, that your fan base just dream matches anyways, so it doesn't matter how you get there just as long as you do. And the main event match. Those are the only 2 that I heard that were like felt like it was a pay-per-view thing. CM Punk and Eddie Kingston, I'll say the build actually made it a pay-per-view style match, or pay-per-view build of a match. But that it was everything was so paint by numbers. And Justin says the entire tournament was so predictable, you could have missed the entire tournament and still knew who was going to win. Yeah. I didn't even see the whole bracket and I knew who was going to win.
Oh, yeah. And, I think that the women's match was bad.
I heard that from more than you. I heard it was bad.
It was bad. And I think Ty Conti was nervous, which is understandable. But Britt, oh no.
Let me be honest.
Yeah, she's kind of a mess.
Because here's where we go to get drunk and talk shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. Tay Conti has been pushed far beyond her abilities, based purely off of her likability and looks.
Yeah.
She is the Divas era of AEW incarnate. That's what I mean when I say there is really great talent there, like Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb, Ruby Soho, who are being pushed aside for their favorites for whatever reason they have. The Britt Bakers, Taya Conte, and Anna Jays, who aren't that skilled yet, who still need a ton of work, but they're just better than they were a year ago. So they say, oh, look they're perfect. They're A+, they should be in the title picture. But they're not. Britt Baker is also not as good as she could be. She can't carry a match. She needs a Thunder Rosa. So when you put Britt Baker in there and say, you're the senior here, you're the vet, she can't carry that person through a good match. She can't. And so this, as soon as I saw this match was going to happen, I was like, this is going to be a mess because Britt can't make this a good match, and Taya Conti's not good enough to bring her there either. They're both better than they were a year ago, but they're both not that great, and nobody wants to talk about it because it's the best that they think they have there, and it's not. They're burying the best they have there because their favorites are the cute ones, and that's some bullshit.
Yeah. Absolutely. But if you clearly hear the crowd, especially like when they had the opening one before Full Gear, and it was like Jamie Hayter and whatever, and Thunder Rosa, the freaking crowd, I think, was louder than probably anybody. CM Punk, Danielson, I feel that just because she's so loved. Everyone loves her,
Yes.
and
they love her in spite of, not because of.
Yeah. But I think that honestly, they do need to really reevaluate what they're doing with the women. I mean, honestly, like, Nyla Rose, still kind of botchy.
Yeah.
And the Joshi, to be quite real, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not believable.
Yeah.
When you have, Rio, who's probably like 100 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make sense, but.
Yeah, 100%.
I digress with that.
That's not to say that I don't like Taya Conti, Anna Jay, or Britt Baker. I like them all.
Mm-hmm.
I do, and I want to see them do better. My frustration is they're not being required to get better, and shit like this is going to happen. You're going to have these sloppy mess of a match for a title because you're not holding your talent accountable. It's all, you're doing great, sweetie, and it's very patronizing. The way we treat the women's wrestlers a lot of times. Because I think that they're capable. I think they're incredible. I think they're willing. And I think that we patronize them so much we don't let them be who they could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this whole, like, let's get behind Taya Conti because she's cute is a dick move. Because she's got so much talent and potential that if you guys put her feet to the fire just a little bit, she could be something. She's not. She's going to fucking get lost in it if you guys don't hold talent accountable. And say this was a sloppy mess. Don't say, no, this was incredible. No, say you could do better. We expect better.
Yeah.
You will do better down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But fucking dust this one off because it was a fuck up and let's move forward. Like, hold them accountable, man. Justin Time says, to me, Britt's only good match since winning the title was the one against Statlander at All Out. Since winning the title, that's the important thing. Because if you wanted to include her entire career, you would say that she's had that match and 1 or 2 Thunder Rosa matches. And then that would be all you'd be able to say. She's had a lot of rough matches because people don't hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Take says, that sounds familiar. Dick. Bishop trying to say I'm biting his shit. Just kidding. Maybe I am. Maybe you got to go to twtakespodcast.com/TWTs and buy a Terrible Wrestling Takes podcast with promo code DIVEBAR. Or you can just wait till Black Friday weekend on PWTs and get PWTs.com/Wrestling on the Rocks tees for 20% off. It's up to you. You make the choice. You vote with your money.
Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, I heard that was a mess.
I'm tired of Phil. That's all I'm going to say.
Punk and Kingston. Yo, let's talk about for a second. Klump, did you get to see much of the promos leading up to the Punk and Kingston thing?
A fair amount. I mean, in
Some
the end,
cool
it went
promos,
away.
right?
Yeah, great promos. Yeah, great promos. Punk is, to me, decent on the mic. This is a good pairing together, except for the match or the card position of both people. Like, I think I said this last week. The only way I'd be happy with this would have been if Kingston went over, because it would be a shock, but they ain't gonna fucking do that.
Yep. And how long have we been saying about Eddie Kingston?
Yeah.
Since he fucking started, man. What did we say when he came out for the TNT title? They should give him this one, but they're not going to do it. And every match he's had since then, they should give him this one, but they're not going to do it. The problem is they're just not going to do it with Eddie Kingston, and that fucking sucks. Because you have the most believable guy there, and you make it known that this is a shit-talking, glass-jawed jobber. Here's the type of dude that everyone knows who's a bad motherfucker running his mouth at every bar he goes to, will throw a glass against the wall and then get dragged out by the smallest motherfucker in the bar and left bloody, begging them to stop because they don't know how to fight. That's what you're making Kingston look like, and it sucks because he's a fucking badass and he's believable. And he keeps pulling you back. Every time they shit on him, he comes out and talks in a way that you go, I don't know, man, I'm behind Eddie. I think he can do it.
Yeah.
And then they remind you, no, don't get behind this guy. He's a loser. And it sucks.
Yep. Pull the rug from him.
Yeah, they're pulling the rug out from under him every time. And in that same vein, here's a fucking loser who can't back up his shit, and he's still more over than your fucking world champion. Pull the trigger on the guy. Start listening to the audience. I thought that was the point of AEW, right?
Uh-huh.
It was the program that was going to listen to the audience.
Well, now that you have at Full Gear, you had, I guess, the WWE guy that goes to the shows with a green smiley face t-shirt. I don't know who that is.
His name is Smiley.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. It's stupid. Brock Lesnar guy.
Oh, yeah. He's there.
And he was next to Frank the Clown.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm like, I don't know who got them there. If it was Tony and he's like, yeah, I'll give you money if you want to come, whatever. But dude, if you're going to put fans in the front row, like like these other people in the front row, you need to really look in your fan base and see. Now, I'm not saying put me in the front row, although I do bring the heat. I do. And I probably would be the most animated woman they've ever had in the front row.
That's true.
That's
just because, true.
But yeah, it's kind of like Tony really, really getting into WWE, and it's WWE light, but whatever. But Eddie, man, I think it's too late for Eddie. It just, I don't know. How can you repair him to be what he really should be?
And then on Dynamite, they made him a joke. They had that one promo segment with some dude, and he tried to look like a tough guy and go, I'm going to catering. Making a fucking joke. Oh, you want to get me some food? Thanks. Like, didn't make him look real. It made him look like he didn't give a shit. And not that don't give a shit, like, I don't give a shit, I'll fucking go crazy. Like, don't give a shit, like, I guess I have to do this stupid thing for this stupid angle that doesn't make sense anyways. Like, it made it feel like none of it mattered.
Yep.
And the shit talk was lame. And Kingston talks shit on the guy like he's going to beat his ass. And you go, but you've never won. All you do is get your ass kicked. Here's another dude who's going to kick your ass, I guess. Like, that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Although CM Punk coming out in MMA shorts, smart move because it reminds you this guy can't win a fight either. So, does make you wonder.
Yep.
It was just, to me, that's what sucked about it, is it was the same shit, man. Eddie Kingston's going to talk mad shit and make you think like, oh, we're going to see a brawl. And then you get into it and you go, oh, wait, no, Eddie Kingston's a loser. He doesn't know how to fight. He just runs his mouth. That's not how I want to think about a guy like that. I like that the guys like that.
Absolutely not. And then bravo to Hangman.
Go ahead. Talk about Hangman.
But is it a little too late?
For me, it's way too late. So I was having an argument today with Micah. And I'll shout this out because he's all up in my DMs. And he listens and stuff. But he was trying to tell me that the story of Hangman Page has been this incredible story. And I was like, the story with Hangman Page has been glossed over by the fans and filled in the pockets and the gaps by the fans to make it feel like it's a better story than it is. And he was telling me, he's like, no, he's like, Hangman is us. He's an insecure guy who through the magic of friendship became the best. And I said, isn't this the show that's not for children? Because that sounds an awful lot like a show for children. Telling me that the magic of friendship is what makes you better, right? And we go back and forth about different stuff, but he talks about how the elite neglected his feelings. Because I was like, he said he was neglected. I was like, he wasn't neglected. He was outright thrown out for getting sad and having a drink. They literally villainized alcohol. They never made him look like an absolute drunk. They just showed that he would have a drink, and that was evil. And then he referred to that as Hangman's fears and insecurities lead him down the path of darkness. Well, the path of darkness being drinking is a very Christian mindset. I guess it's a church story, right? And so we go back and forth a little bit, and I said, look, this is shitty booking on the part of them. And he said, no, it's not shitty booking. It's that you're being dismissive of this overall story that was actually told about him struggling through friendship to other friendships and finding himself and coming out of the darkness and all that. And I'll give him that. There's an overarching story there that you can piece together if you're fucking trying. But what I said was, the shitty booking isn't the fact that it's a childish storyline that's pretty weak. The shitty booking is that at the end of the day, he won the title and he's the 7th most popular guy in the company. The shitty booking is that when he won the title, you didn't feel like this was the biggest moment in the history of the company. You didn't feel like this was the biggest moment coming out of the pay-per-view. You don't feel like this is the biggest star that was made that night. You felt like, good, they finally gave that guy the title. That's what you felt like. You felt super bummed for guys like Kingston, and you felt good for Adam Page because he finally got that title. But the next night, you were wondering what Kingston was going to do. What is Punk going to say? Where's MJF going? Page was an afterthought in a lot of this, and that's the shitty booking, is they didn't book him in a way that made you think that Hangman Page was the single most important person in that company, and that him having the title would mean more than someone else having the title. This is a case of them hoping the title will make the man, and not a case of the man making the title. They put the title on Jericho to begin with because they were hoping that a name like Jericho would make that title mean something. They put the title on Hangman because they're hoping that the title will make Hangman mean something, because they failed to make him mean something before. That's the shitty booking. Not the fact that they didn't have a 2-year-long story arc that was fucking all over the place in my book. But if you saw it a different way, you saw it a different way. Bottom line, Hangman Page is not as important without the title, and they're hoping to make him important with the title, and that's the problem. The Rock and Stone Cold and John Cena and CM Punk having titles in WWE was not the issue because they were the most important people in the company. And if you have a bunch of people in the company who don't want the title, you have a title in your company that's not all that important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a million different ways that they could have played this. And honestly, like, I mean, I've fantasy booked it myself. And there are a hell of a lot better ideas than Tony's supplying or whoever is coming up with this storyline. It's just really bad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm just kind of, it's like, it's great, yay, because, you know, Hangman's he deserves something like this, you know, but not the way they did it. Because Kenny, as we know now, is injured.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't think it's like a specific injury so much, just overall issues and wanting to take care of that, which is good.
I mean, that's actually... Go, sorry.
Isn't he having surgery on his shoulder?
There's talk that he is. I mean, but I'll be honest, like, when I heard about the situation, that made me kind of happy that... Give credit to AEW and the positivity of what a big organization can be, is he's making enough money that he can probably take that time off securely, get that surgery stuff, those surgeries, and or that rehab he needs, because shit, dude's been doing this for the better part of 15 years, and for a lot of it hasn't been making a great deal of money. Sure. Or hasn't had the ability, even when he was at the height of the Bullet Club, he couldn't take a year off or 6 months off or 3 months off to take care of his body. So hell yeah.
True.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let him get through all that and let's see what he looks like on the other side. Mm-hmm. This guy could be on a whole different level in a year or two. You know?
Yeah, but I still think that this version of Kenny, no, it's a downer, especially because if you watch New Japan,
oh yeah,
he was so good. You know,
oh, yeah.
This is the man that went to, you know, with Okada, like, to, you know, the brink of, you know, whatever.
100%.
And it's like you don't see that anymore.
That's what I'm saying. In a year or two, we could get the Kenny back. You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
I think it's possible if he rehabs, right? Look at John Cena. He did it.
Yeah, but John Cena is a different beast than Kenny Omega.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. And then John Cena has a better butt than Kenny Omega, but I'm not going into that.
That's fair. Klump, what are you going to say? Were you going to weigh in on the butts conversation?
Well, you guys we were making polite comments. I was going to make a joke, but I figured it was in poor taste. But fuck it. I think the surgery is really just to surgically remove Tony Khan off his dick.
Oh, that could be. That's a weight off of his dick. Yeah. A lot more mobility without that weight on him.
Get up off his dick. Got a whole company to run, Tony.
I hope people don't come in here and think this is like we're all super legit about all this stuff. We're just bullshitting.
I am very much legit about Tony Khan. Get it up off that dick.
I mean, that's true. I can't argue with that one. But yeah, it was a good moment for Hangman Page. It was a moment that Page will remember for a long time. He's finally a world champion of a company somewhere. But he was also determined to be the 4th world champion 2 years ago when they started. Tony Khan said that. He said he knew who the first 4 were going to be and the order they were going to be in. So now we also know that Tony Khan might not know what's next, which could make the next year wild. But it does mean that putting the belt on Page now is a circumstantial event and not an event based off of how we got here. Justin Time says, feels like it's been forever since the last cheek talk with Amanda. It's a good point. We need a great breakdown of butts. and Takes has a comment. If you're ready to move to Dynamite a little bit, we can kind of expand this conversation a little bit. Was there anything else on Full Gear specifically you wanted to hit?
No, that's it. And
So
to be honest,
oh, go ahead.
like they're even like with the other shows, I mean, it seemed like Elevation was like Jobber Central.
Mm.
And the only thing that I was kind of left impressed with is, I don't know, the Acclaimed is really getting pretty decent.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm kind of really digging them right now. So yeah, Anthony Bowens is doing great, I think. With him doing all those singles matches has been really good.
Very cool.
And Dynamite.
I heard, so let me throw this out there too. I heard two kind of perspectives on this pay-per-view. Some people saying it was absolutely perfect, best pay-per-view of all time, which you hear every pay-per-view, and other people saying it felt like a big Dynamite. And it makes me wonder, is the problem, if you're watching pay-per-views and thinking this feels like a Dynamite, is the problem they're putting too big of matches on Dynamite, or is the problem they're not building up to big enough matches for the pay-per-views?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a little bit of both?
It's both.
You think?
Yeah, both. Absolutely.
Because when you throw big matches on YouTube and on Dynamite, then when you have a big match on a pay-per-view, you go, why did I spend $50 for this when I got it for free last week?
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're not building it for matches that feel like they're much stronger than the other shows, then that's the other problem. So Bishop was saying, saw a tweet from an AEW fan that said, Hangman is so good he turned Bryan heel. That's what we are dealing with.
No.
So this promo happens with Daniel Bryan. He goes out there and says, hey, the night after I won at WrestleMania, I wrestled the next night. He goes, the difference between you and me is I'm a wrestler and you're flapping your gums. And the crowd booed. They said, that's a heel turn. What I say, tell me what you think about this, Amanda, because I know you saw that promo. Bryan didn't turn heel because Hangman Page is so over. Bryan was referred to as a heel because he fucking buried Hangman Page and Page couldn't stand up for himself. He exposed Page for not being deserving in that spot real quick in a way that no one could argue, because the other thing he said was, let's fight right now. Page is like, I don't know, gets in his face a little bit and says, sure, let's fight. And Daniel Bryan, from a, quote, heel perspective, says, I don't want to fight you right now because the thing is all I've heard since I got here was that Hangman Page has a list of excuses on why he's never succeeded. So I think we should wait until you're fully rested so you have no excuses. Hangman Page's response? You're right. We'll wait. What? A fighter would say, no excuses, never an excuse. I have no excuses now. Matter of fact, when you won at WrestleMania, you went through 2 matches, 3 men, and a broken arm. I can see you tonight because I went through 1 man with no injuries. I am more than prepared to wrestle you tonight and retain. And if I lose, there's no excuse to be had because I am a fighter and I am fighting you with all I got every time I'm in this ring. And you were in a worse state when you did it. I'm in a better state now. I'm going to best you. But he didn't. He just went, yeah, no, you're right. It's a good point. We'll go at a different time. Hangman Page got punked out by Bryan. And people went, ooh, Bryan heel turn. People booed him. No. Your big, tough world champion got punked out, and you booed it and said, Bryan's a heel because I hate this. Well, why did you hate it? Because he got punked out. Did you see that fucking 1-page manifesto Page put out when he won the title, calling the day National Cowboy Shit Day and all that? What a fucking heel move. Who wins a title and says, the day's all about me? Here's my 1-page report on me.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a heel thing, dude.
You're really negative on this shit, and I don't necessarily agree with you.
Go ahead.
Like, to me, I get what you're saying. Like, he got punked out there, but to me, I think that's still kind of growing who Adam Page is. Like, a lot of his story has been like a timidness, a struggle, and like, you know, you got to fill the boots you're in. You know, sometimes to me it's rough to be, wow, they're immediately amazing, and then they lose the belt.
Mm-hmm.
But like, building them up, I'd be happy with, and I do think to me, Bryan Danielson's a very interesting heel. I'd be excited for them to make him a heel because it would be cool to see them put somebody at that level who has that much fan support behind him as a heel, and I think it'd work because, and it would speak to if Bryan pulls it off, holy shit, you know that speaks to what he can do when he's coming in with so much fanfare behind him, you know.
Dan
That
Bryan's
said,
so good.
Yeah, I think he'd do well, and he'd be a great person to help further Paige.
Yes.
In the story. Also, the National Cowboy, the Cowboy shit day, that's just building on what he did, and you know that build up. And I like that. I thought that was kind of funny. I mean,
It's
when
funny,
Eddie Guerrero,
but it's a heel shit thing to do.
I don't think so.
You think a babyface does that? Celebrate me?
Yeah.
When was the
It's
time
not
babyface
necessarily
had a celebration?
Eddie Guerrero going through El Paso.
Wasn't Eddie Guerrero's thing is I lie, cheat, and steal to win?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, but he is still a face. I don't necessarily view this as him. Like, you're making it seem like he did this just like purely like worship me, wonder if this me. To me, I see it as like he wrote a thing out to the fans saying like, yeah, I did this. I'm here. We came up together. I'm cool with it. It also kind of builds into the fan support. Fans have been chanting that. I don't think it's bad. I think it's weird if he doesn't say anything about it or doesn't acknowledge it.
I got you. I thought one page and declaring a day after yourself was the weird part.
Declaring a day after the move about the idea. That's just my view of it.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not saying that he's like totally a heel here. But I did say this feels weird because it sounds like a heel thing to do to declare a day after yourself and write a page about it. It's one thing to put out a thing where you're all like super appreciative. I want to talk to the fans. I couldn't have done it without you. Cut that promo. But he had a big me party, which felt a lot like Justin Time says, sounds like some Drew McIntyre shit right there. Like how Drew McIntyre wrote a book about being a champion after he won a month ago. You're kind of like, dude, it's a bit much for a babyface to be like, let's reflect on me about how good I am. It just seems skewed heelish. And I'll give you, too, that Drew McIntyre is a total babyface and was a babyface through that whole thing. But I feel like it was a heel move. You know what I mean?
Well, no. They tried to make him babyface. He wasn't. I feel like Adam Page is a babyface. Just how he acts, he's a fucking babyface. And, yeah, I think it's, to me, as a positive, if you want to see it as a negative, I'm cool with somebody taking a little bit of ownership of it, being a little bit more complex as a babyface. And what we consider babyfaces in AEW and compelling people, I'm like, this is kind of cool. It's a little bit more positive than CM Punk, who I try and like. I try.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I try.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just throwing out a perspective. What do you think, Amanda?
Your perspective was wrong.
With Hangman, you know, like, I think it's just soaking in the moment. It's been a long time. He was supposed to have it. And, you know, he's riding it right now. Unfortunately. Probably, I don't know if he will, but I have a feeling he's going to lose the belt.
I was hoping he would at Dynamite. I thought, how great would that be if he just up and lost it immediately?
Yeah, but obviously what we're getting next week is interesting.
Do you think he's going to lose it to Daniel Bryan or MJF?
Daniel Bryan.
I was thinking that he would retain it. Whatever, he's my Daniel Bryan.
No,
I was thinking he would retain it to Daniel Bryan in some sort of shit cannery, and he was going to lose it to MJF with MJF cheating, which would make MJF a bigger heel and Adam Page a bigger babyface because he got screwed out of his title.
True, but I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't know. I just don't.
I hope you're right. If I'm being honest, I hope Daniel Bryan takes it immediately.
That's what I'm thinking. Once he gets rid of, he beats everybody in the Dark Order, then he's going to come and he's going to get the belt. So then what's going to happen is who beats him for the belt?
Yeah.
Probably Phil, but whatever. It's like jerk off moment.
Yeah, that could
whatever.
be. That really could
But
be. Bishop
I will
does say, I love that WWE's indie guy worked the entire AEW crowd by being the WWE crowd. That's what I mean. His whole WrestleMania thing was, he was the indie guy in WWE, and now he's the WWE guy in the indies, and it's pretty great. I think Daniel Bryan is next level. What were you saying?
I was going to say, next week's Dynamite, I really hope that that's going to be the main event, just because they're in Chicago. And I think people are really because Colt's beloved. Yeah. Sorry. And that whole place is going to be doing the whole Colt Cabana. Yeah. And I think that Colt's the lovable loser, as I like to call him. And it would be nice for him to have that moment because, that, and it's on national TV. I mean, he's never gotten that.
That's true.
But yeah, so I really hope that's what it is.
Yeah.
Tony Khan.
Daniel Bryan's a main eventer.
Yeah.
So
and it's Chicago. Because honestly, Chicago. If it's the opening match, most people would be out, whatever, for the rest of the show. Yeah. Because you want that build up because that's the hometown guy.
Yeah, hometown heroes. There's a build for that.
Mm-hmm. He's on a billboard probably outside of the arena. So,
I think the arena is in the shape of his head.
Colt?
Yeah.
Well, who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
Bishop does say Hangman is soaking it in arrogance. I do feel like that was part of it when the crowd's chanting, "You deserved it." And he's like, "No, I'm going to stop you right there." No. He's like, "I didn't deserve it. I fucking earned it." And I was all like, that's a bit cocky because the fans are trying to be nice and you're saying, "Shut up. I'm better than that." And we've seen heels do it in the past. I'm not saying that Adam Page is a heel. I'm saying he's doing kind of heelish things that the fans accept as babyface because they just love him so much, which to me is interesting, not an issue necessarily. But I was like, that's a heelish, arrogant way to respond to the fans because that's the kind of thing that like a Charlotte Flair would do. Oh, I didn't deserve anything. I took it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Grim Reaper says on AEW social media, they stopped the recap right before Bryan said WrestleMania. That's funny.
Of course.
Probably because of fucking copyrights.
Yeah.
I want that shit pulled off YouTube.
Cease and desist.
I did like that Daniel Bryan beat the absolute shit out of Evil Uno and didn't make it look competitive at all.
Nope.
There was no moment and they were all like, "Oh, Evil Uno's really getting one over here." It was like, nope. Daniel Bryan's just beating the shit out of him.
I hope that doesn't happen to Colt. I mean, honestly.
I'm torn on it. I hear you. I'm torn.
Shoulder, not because he's over my shoulder. And I'm pictures with him. Not because of that. It's because of anybody. He doesn't deserve that kind of treatment because, he doesn't. I mean, he is what they call, a lot of them say, this is the godfather of independent wrestling or modern independent wrestling. So at least give him a chance.
Yeah.
And don't slaughter him like right away. You can do that to, number 10. You can do that to Angels. You could do it to Johnny Hungy, whatever. But with Colt, it's like, nah, you gotta let him do something a little bit and make it look a little challenging. But I'm not saying that they're on the same level. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm torn. Part of me wants to see Daniel Bryan just beat the absolute ever-living shit out of everybody on his way to Hangman. So you really think Hangman doesn't have a fucking chance? But part of me would like to see Colt Cabana not get the absolute ever-living shit beat out of himself. So I hear you.
No, he doesn't need that. Now, if I still hated him, I'd be like, yeah, just fucking
do it. Let's fucking kick his ass.
No. I mean, I don't know. First, because I wasn't paying attention, I thought it was going to be him and Punk, Bryan Danielson. But Then everyone's like, oh, he said something about he's going to wrestle everyone in the Dark Order. Never mind. I think I was deaf.
Yeah. Let's see. The rest of the show I didn't really give too many shits about, so I got nothing else to say about AEW if you want to talk about NXT, but you got a little bit of the floor if you want it.
I'll tell you, okay. I will say this. I did like the Acclaimed versus Dante Martin and Leo Rush. Now, for some reason, I don't know. I think that Dante and Leo Rush make a great tag team. And I wonder what's going to happen when Dante's brother comes back. You know?
I don't know.
I don't know how long he's out, but
yeah,
I wonder about that because, I think Leo Rush is better in a tag team than just wrestling by himself.
I agree.
And I just kind of, I'm like, and I'm not saying because of what happened afterwards. No, I'm talking, it's just, they worked so well together. And even against the Acclaimed, I was actually pleasantly surprised by it. I don't like this stupid storyline they're doing with Dante. It's quite stupid.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. So.
I don't know. I thought the whole point of the Leo Rush thing is so when Dante comes back, they have like kind of a built-in little feud there for a bit. And there's another tag team built because Leo probably will grab somebody else or something. So.
Yeah, maybe. But it's hard to say.
Hard to say. So, I think it'd be cool if Leo Rush and Joey Janela tagged. Because they have that history with GCW. So they could maybe make something happen.
That would be great because they've had great matches against each other. But I think Joey is on the skits with AEW.
For sure.
He was at Electric.
Oh, he's been shit on like crazy since he was there. So.
Yeah, no. And it was like, he's even said in an interview, when he got signed, he is cocky. He was like, I'm the shit. I'm on TV and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden someone burst his bubble. And, but that would be a great tag team, but they're not going to do it. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah, he's going to be the first person released by AEW is Janela. And that's sad, but it's okay because why? Janela's got all sorts of other irons in the fire. So it doesn't matter.
I wonder if they'll keep him on just because they don't want to be the company that releases people. I wonder if they'll just quietly pay him to keep him doing nothing. Or don't let him do whatever he wants. Do whatever you want. We're not putting you on TV, but we're going to pay you. Like, that's not the worst situation for a guy to be in, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Because he still does his GCW and stuff.
Yeah, but I would be disappointed, like, if I went to the pay-per-view and Janela is one of my favorites, and they did that bowling, because I would love to bowl Joey Janela. Because that would have been crazy shit.
Yeah.
And he probably would have been really drunk. But
that's funny.
That would have been really fun. But no. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about NXT. I don't think we need to break down the whole thing. It's going to be too long. Klump, you still with us?
Yeah.
Partying? Hanging?
Yeah, I'm going.
My dude.
Yeah.
I will say, let's go into NXT a little bit. This was one, again, man, they're filling so much weird shit in the middle of like good matches that it makes things difficult to attach to. Like, I feel like their storylines make me not want to care about the match. Like, the match opened up with Dexter Lumis and Tony D'Angelo. That's how the show opened. And when I saw that match was going to happen, I was like, fuck off. I don't want to see this. I don't want anything to do with Dexter. I don't want anything to do with Gargano. I'm fucking tired of this shit.
Yep.
But quite honestly, the match with D'Angelo and Dexter Lumis was a good match. And Dexter Lumis looks good. There's no reason these two dudes couldn't be doing bigger things. And the match even ended fine. And D'Angelo walks away. And then you have the aftermatch where Carmelo, his buddy, comes out. Gargano comes out. And now you have a whole bunch of schmoz happening that has nothing to do with the match that just happened. And I was like, oh, interesting that D'Angelo and Dexter had a really good match. And now we have a bunch of shit I don't care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you just put Gargano in the title.
I agree with you. it feels like when we used to do this comparison of NXT and AEW, we talked a lot about, wow, these are fantastic, solid matches, and especially with 2.0, but it was happening before, but it just seems like honestly more of a direct competition now than it ever was, because it feels like they're like, well, I don't know. I just feel like there's an argument to be made that we're creating content that is focused on this gaga moment in the middle of a match,
Yeah.
rather than a serious wrestling product. Which, yeah, wrestling's a fake, silly thing, but still, it's,
You want to
you know,
care.
yeah. And I
Now,
can't give a fuck about, like, I want to like Dexter Loomis, but I
yes.
can't give a fuck about him with Johnny Gargano with him, or this stupid wedding shit.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Dexter Loomis versus Tony D'Angelo was a good match in a bubble without all the shit around it. Like, here's the other thing I was thinking. We're talking about the releases anyways. I think that a lot of the releases are people that they would have otherwise had run live shows, but they're not doing live shows the way they were anymore. Now, they're doing dark matches and television shows in NXT. Even Main Event is filmed on NXT with NXT talent. 205 Live is NXT with NXT talent. They've even had Odyssey Jones on 205 Live. It's just a name now.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the dark matches before a SmackDown or a Raw, it was before they even debuted. It was Austin Theory and Ridge Holland. Right now, a lot of them were Xia Li and Dakota Kai. I saw Cora Jade was in a dark match before SmackDown recently. Like, it seems to me that they've stopped keeping 150 talent to put on 4 or 5 live shows a week that were untelevised and dark matches, and instead they're utilizing their NXT talent to not only learn while they're in NXT, but learn on the road in front of a crowd as well, so they can also keep an eye on them. Hey, here's a note for this person. Hey, you should do this. Hey, try this other thing, and we'll see you again in a month when your next dark match. So that way they can see the progress, and you're actually using NXT as a training ground and watching them as they go, so we can stop having people go from NXT to the main roster with big changes. They'll be getting changed throughout the time, you know? Does that make sense to anybody but me?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I get you.
I just, again, I've not seen anything that's been rewarding or really like, I'm really excited to watch since this 2.0 thing.
I hated the poker thing.
Oh, that was awful.
Mm-hmm.
That was awful.
Like, that was
Poker
just flat
thing.
out bad TV. Like, there's stuff where I go, okay, this wasn't for me. But that was just like, I don't know who the fuck this is for.
And then they cut his hair and his beard.
Yes, that's what I meant to mention to you.
I was like, I mean, Charlie looked a lot better. But I'm just saying, okay, Cameron Grimes, I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
You know, but
they trimmed up his beard and his hair, and we talked about it before. I was like, are they going to cut his hair and beard after that weird segment? And you're like, I think they will.
Sure did.
Yep.
And the guy did pretty good. Did a good job, I thought. But
he actually did pretty good. Given the moment that it was and the chaos of it, he did a pretty clean cut.
And it was even too. Yeah. I noticed that. Yeah. I loved how he did the hair. I mean, that was just like straight up chop.
Yeah.
Like what you do when you donate your hair, where women donate their hair.
Well, that'd be great. It just turns out that Duke Hudson was a hairstylist before he was a wrestler.
That would be interesting.
So funny. And even, let's see, Kyle O'Reilly and Van Wagner against Briggs and Jensen, I barely paid attention to.
I didn't watch it.
The triple threat with Persia versus Gabby and Jenny, barely paid attention to.
Yeah.
Ciampa cutting a good promo was just Ciampa cutting a good promo. Bronson Breakker came out doing Bronson Breakker stuff, and that was cool. Raquel and Dakota was cool. And that was kind of it. They're setting up for War Games, obviously. The women's War Games has already been announced. I I think it'll be a good match. Toxic Attraction. You got Raquel, Dakota. You got all them in the cage. Like, it'll be cool. I think it's cool for Cora Jade. She's like, what, 20? She's going to be in a War Games? Like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
One thing if I can throw out here that I see when they announced War Games, it felt really recent. Like, oh, it's been a year. And I think that speaks to the drop in quality of things to care about on NXT. There's not feuds or matches I've really given a fuck about in the year between. You know, so it just feels like, oh, shit. Wasn't it like a month ago?
That's true.
You know?
It's starting, as excited as I was when NXT 2.0 first came around, and I was like, it really feels like a developmental where we're trying stuff. Which is cool to get in on people on the ground level, and you know, you like your indie stars, you see them go national. That's cool. This is sort of a national indies. It's definitely not a national indies like AEW, but it's like an indie WWE. A lot of this stuff is just getting so messy at this point that it's like there's not enough of each segment that I'm liking. You know what I mean? Like, it just is coming off as a mess. And I hope that if nothing else, that at the end of it, what it turns into is fleshed out characters for the main roster who can fall in and not be changed and be good, which I think is the goal. But it is making watching the NXT thing pretty fucking messy.
Yeah.
Klump, how'd you feel about NXT overall? Was it just kind of on while you were doing shit kind of a deal?
More or less, yeah. I was playing Call of Duty, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I put it on while I'm editing, and then I see what stops me and makes me watch.
And nothing really stopped me.
It was very few. It was like those last two segments, those last two matches that I was like, okay. Ciampa talking and Braun Breaker talking, and then going to the Raquel and Dakota thing. I was like, oh, this is cool. And pretty much everything before that, I was like,
yeah.
It's just messy, man. It's just a mess. And I think you have a bunch of great talent. I think everyone on here is incredible talent. I think there's just this fucking mess to get us a little bit of time with these talents. It's frustrating. I love Tony D'Angelo, though. And I'm tired, finally, of lashing out. Like, I still think, and I thought that lashing out with Lash Legend was a very interesting and unique way of doing that kind of talk show segment. And I just think we haven't done enough with it to make me care anymore. I get it now, and we haven't done anything with it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you've introduced it to me, you've made me used to it, and now you've done nothing with it. And now I'm over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where if they moved with it quick enough, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's this thing, it's this mechanism they use to tell stories, like Piper's Pit. I don't feel like this is a mechanism to tell stories.
No.
That's, I think, the frustrating bit is I was like, oh, what a creative way to tell stories. And they go, oh, we're not telling those here.
Yeah, I don't get that. But you know, I think I said on episode 1 that I really did not like that segment at all, and was like, what's the point? To this day, no. What's the point?
Well, when I first saw the first segment, I was like, yeah, not my favorite thing ever, but a really interesting and unique way to start telling stories. But then they're all like, no, we're just going to keep doing it this way. And I was like, no, the point was to start telling stories with it. Like, now you've made me tired of it, and we haven't started telling a story with it. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah. No.
So, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I hated it, but I will say that the investment in it is waning rapidly. I like certain talents, and I'll watch what they're doing, but it doesn't feel like the stories are captivating. Like, I loved the LA Knight promo, that video package thing he did. Loved it. LA Knight's so fucking good. I don't know why he's not just on a bigger field already.
I don't know.
But he's there. And I don't know what the fuck he's doing next. I guess he's still doing shit with Grayson Waller, and I don't know why.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a waste. Yeah.
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 Dude, realistically, I don't see why he's not just in NXT or not on SmackDown or Raw, just mixing it up with the U.S. title holder or something, or having a couple squash matches, or like I just don't understand. I don't see what he's getting out of NXT right now. It's a bummer.
No.
He's like one of my fucking favorites, but maybe this is just his lot. Maybe he's just going to be a coach at NXT, and this is how he's doing it. And if that's what he wants and that's what he's doing, then Godspeed. You know what I mean? I want that guy to have what he wants, but in my mind, I was like, I don't see why he couldn't be mixing it up with Shinsuke Nakamura next week.
That's another person that they just kind of with, I think. And look at
the Shinsuke
Kushida.
story is an interesting one.
Yeah, but Kushida,
Oh, Kushida, yeah.
that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Jacket time or whatever the hell they're calling themselves. Kushida is so much better than what we saw, and I'm like, damn.
Oh yeah, we got just a taste of it a couple of times, and then now they're like jacket time, and I was like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So,
No.
all right, well, I mean, that's where we're at with it, I suppose. We'll keep an eye on things, see how it's going. I think I'm glad Santos is back, but I don't know what they're gonna do. I was really hoping they would just have Legado del Fantasma show up on Raw and do something with like Hit Row or something, because it was already kind of built in, and now that's not going to be a thing. So what other group could they? Maybe New Day? That might be cool, but we'll see. I don't know. There's just the talent that I think that is incredible there is talent that I don't understand what they're doing there at this point, I guess is my problem. Because before it was like they're incredible here and they're doing cool stuff, and now it's like they're incredible and they're not doing cool stuff, and I don't know what they're doing for who anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, well, one thing I hope is that Legado del Fantasma does not get cut.
Yes.
As you know, these cuts, because they're just so damn good. Okay? I don't like the addition of the chick. Don't like that.
I like her, but I could understand.
It's not, it's not the same.
It doesn't work as well without a Hit Row with a B-Fab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so she's a little out of place in that regard, but I think she is good and talented. So
yeah, but it's not,
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean.
Well, was there anything else this week that you thought we were missing that you guys wanted to touch on?
No.
No. Klump, anything that we're missing?
I think we're good.
I think we did good. I like talking shit. I like Klump checking
I know
and
you
saying,
really
hey.
did today.
Hey, fuck all y'all.
Yeah, fuck all y'all. What was that, Amanda? You said what?
I said you really did today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was upset because I was expecting so much more. I'll be honest, I do think I probably would have liked AEW's pay-per-view more than the last one, but I also don't feel like I would have got my money's worth, and I felt like it was overly predictable, and I felt like the issues I'm having with them is that not only are they completely in fan service, which is fine, but they're completely booking based off of almost like a fan bias regardless of what they're doing. Like, hey, the fans are supporting things despite what's happening, and they're getting a free pass in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've done Hangman Page no favors in a year and a half, and all the fans are like, this is brilliant, this is great. And you're like, but they've made him the least valuable champion since they've started. And they go, no, he's amazing, we love him. And I was like, yeah, but why? Well, because we're supposed to. You know what I mean? And that's my problem, is that they could do more to make guys like Page mean more. And they should, because guys like Page should mean more. They should mean more than this de facto champion from 2 years ago that they dropped the ball with. And they're just hoping this title makes it right. And you know what it reminds me of a lot? It reminds me of when CM Punk first won the championship in WWE. And he was in the mid-card and never in the main event. And he was just a guy with a title. And he's talked about it. And and Triple H has talked about it. Triple H talked about it. He goes, sometimes the man makes the title and sometimes the title makes the man. He goes, in this case, neither one could make each other. Talking about CM Punk with the title. And you're like, fuck, that's brutal. But that's what it feels like with Page right now. And I just don't want that to be the fact. I don't want that to be true. Because when we first watched Double or Nothing in Vegas, I walked away saying Page and Scorpio Sky are their two biggest stars. Let's see them be that. and they just haven't become that, and it fucking bums me out because to this day, as I watch, I say those are the two dudes who should already be on top, and they're just fucking not.
Yeah, with Scorpio Sky, it's like you're doing this stupid stuff with Dan Lambert and those other people. It's dumb. It's like, come on, that should be better.
I didn't even want to talk about the Dan Lambert stuff. That shit looks so stupid. The stuff with him and Jericho. It's awful.
It is stupid. There's no point in it.
Yeah. But it is what it is. And hopefully the fans will start holding that company accountable at some point in time so it can start being enjoyable by others who aren't just willing to accept it. The idea that the championship title story was about the magic of friendship and overcoming the darkness of alcohol. Like, fucking sake, Reading Rainbow. This Nick Jr. fucking storyline. And I watched the one that's based for children, based off of that. I was like, all right, well, they're a champion based off the magic of friendship.
The magic of friendship.
My lord. Yeah,
well, you know.
If it's magical, then other people should pop up and appear. But
I agree with that. And I agree with the idea that as long as you're having fun when you watch it and you love it, then none of it really matters. And I'm just here talking shit, having drinks with friends, and we hope that's what you're doing too. Coming by, having a drink with your drinking buddies. It's not about what you're drinking, it's who you're drinking with. Have a soda, have an orange juice, have a beer, whatever you like, as long as it's with your drinking buddies, as we razz each other, talk shit about each other's favorite things. But at the end of the day, we remember we don't hate each other, and we're all still friends. And we all love the same thing, just in different ways. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, guys, we will be back here next week is a one-off. We may not be having anything next week. I may be doing a special podcast with my brother next week for Thanksgiving. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, my drinking buddies, Miss Amanda Jane, at Crybaby Klump, at Beard_Sports, and at Killer on the Rocks, they're all going to have that week off so they can enjoy time with their families, and you should too. But if you got nothing else going on, I may drop a little talk with my brother because we'll be spending time together for Thanksgiving anyways, and we both run podcasts, so we always have microphones on us, as you should too.
Maybe.
But otherwise, go ahead.
Can I convince you that we do a little live thing of Cabana and Danielson?
But that's actually while I'm doing the other show. Because that's on Wednesday night.
Oh, I'm going to come crash it. You know,
yeah.
Damn. Brian Danielson.
Yeah, we'd have to see on that one. The other thing is Survivor Series. Are either of you intending to watch Survivor Series live on Sunday?
I'll try. But
I forgot it was this Sunday. I don't know. I'm like days of the week. It just
maybe. Well, hit me up if you decide to. I know Sports Beard wants to do a watch along. And I'm pretty 50-50 on it, depending on how much work I can get done between tomorrow and Saturday. So we'll see. But right now, the tentative plan is to have an episode 1 buyback, watch along, drink along for Survivor Series. Otherwise, we'll be back soon enough for a brand new episode 1 right here in the dive bar of the IWC. Guys, that's the last call.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with my